I mean, again, companies, I'm thinking of one other company specifically. I know that if you haven't updated your client on the CRM for, I think it's 4 weeks, then that lead, that client becomes free, and there are agents inside the company just scouting about for these free leads.
Sure.
Hello and welcome to the Two Fat Brokers podcast. I am Ben from Abu Dhabi.
Barney from Dubai.
Asel from Dubai.
We also have Asel, who works for Eden Realty Realtors.
Eden Realty
to join in our
Real Estate
conversation. And today our conversation is about dodgy, bad, shady brokers in Dubai and Abu Dhabi. Are there any?
Like ones that wear their sunglasses on their jackets when inside. Ones like that.
Well, otherwise, the only problem with wearing sunglasses inside is if you wear them on your face, like Bono. Like that.
Do that.
Yeah.
That's better.
I should. Are there any dodgy brokers in Dubai, Asel? You ever seen any?
Oh yeah, plenty.
Tell me what makes them shady. What do they do that's shady?
What do they do?
Yeah.
Well, don't give me that look. So first of all, they push their clients to buy something irrelevant and not, like, let's say, good investment for them.
And why would they do that?
Money.
Bono, who benefits?
Broker.
Yeah, but I mean, he could sell them something that was good for them, right? He still gets commission. Why would he sell them something that's bad?
Well, because they don't care about their clients.
The commission's higher.
They don't care about the clients. They're on the short run with them, so that's why they're doing it.
So they just do it because it's higher commission?
Yeah.
Or it's easier?
Commission, money. They do it for money.
I always say you see the true person when money's involved, right? The true person will always peek their head out when there's money involved.
Yes. I mean, I guess that's why poker's so difficult to play with high stakes. People start to, like, their facade cracks.
No, I mean, I think it's more like, it's less of a poker analogy, more of a, are you in this to self-serve or to serve your client? Or are you going to do something that is the right thing, or are you going to do something that makes you money? And I think that's when you begin to see the real person, whether they think doing the right, everybody has a price, right? Like, that's the old analogy. Everyone has a price. And you'd be surprised how low that bar is for some real estate agents, for them to go, do you know what, I'm going to do the wrong thing, but make myself more money. It's a surprisingly low bar for quite a lot of people.
And you have the unfortunate situation, I think, in the UAE with there being so much off plan. So obviously secondary market is 2 or 4%, and kind of, it's pretty much usually the same, although agents will try and maybe sell you something that they have because they'll be able to get the full commission there, as opposed to something another agent has. But if you're saying, okay, well, if I sell them off plan, I get 5, or maybe even 6, maybe there's some, you said in one of the other podcasts, 10, percent, there's a huge incentive there for the broker to, convince themselves maybe that this 10% one's a better investment than this, 2% one, 5 times more profitable. You see that?
Question for you. You have an investor, you found them something, and it actually turns out that what is good for your investor also makes you 10%. Would you turn around to the investor and go, look, I want you to know this because this is an astronomical commission, but I still believe this is good for you, but I am making 10%? Or would you just go, well, it doesn't really matter, I'll just take my 10%. I've done the right thing.
We don't talk about commission with my clients, but we talk about investment. If it's really good, it doesn't matter. Like, I mean, they don't care what the developer is paying.
I guess the point that I'm trying to make is when you're making 10%, that almost for me is like something I would have to say, look, it ticks all your boxes. It's the right thing for you. But I just also need you to know.
But why you feel guilty?
They're paying me because you feel guilty making that kind of margin.
No, but these developers who are giving 10%, most of their projects they cost from like 800K up to 2 million maximum. It's not the big like projects. So like 20%, 20 million project they will not give you 10%.
No.
So that's
some of them you're lucky to get 2.
Well, what you see in financial services recently is because financial is when you are buying these products from advisors, they were making these massive commissions on some of them. And so what they've done now is financial services, at least in the UK, I don't know if it's the same in Dubai, they need to tell you how much commission they're making. So if they offer you 3 options, they say there's this, and this, and and I'm making this commission, that commission, or this commission on each one of those, because obviously it's important for you, I think, because exactly as you say, Barney, to know the motivation of someone who's advising you. Okay, you're advising me for this 10%. Is it really the best thing for me, or are you doing it because of the money?
I had one time conversation with one of my clients. So we had 2 projects that we chose, and we were thinking which one is better. So I told him, like, I gave him like my honest advice. I told him, like, listen, on this project I will make 5%, okay, but on this project I will make only 3. In my opinion, if you compare both of them, I'd rather go for this, the one who pays me 3%, because it's better than this one. If I was a dodgy broker, I would go for 5, right? So yeah. I don't do that. So I'm always honest. But like sometimes they're dodgy clients.
Well, maybe that's another podcast.
That is a good podcast.
So brokers, taking more money. Okay, that's a little bit dodgy, but it's not really dodgy. What's like something that's like properly corrupt that brokers do?
They're trying to steal your client.
Okay.
Yes.
How do they do that?
How do you do? So let's say there is a developer who can give 2% like as a discount. And they're paying 5%. They go to a client and they say they already know that they're already signing with you. They tell them, listen, we are ready to give half of our commission. Sign it with us. This is...
So they give
that's what we call a kickback.
Yeah, kickback.
Okay.
So in this case, I know what to tell to my client.
Yes.
So that's no honor among thieves. That's brokers ripping other brokers off. But where might a broker rip a client off, or
I think it's very difficult to actually rip them off, to take money from them.
I mean, let's deceive them.
I have heard of some real estate agents charging buyers not the normal 2%, charging them 5-6% because the buyer just
secondary.
didn't know. Yeah,
oh,
the client, they were like, yeah, no, that's normal, that's fine. You just pay me 5%. But I mean, I've heard of that happening like 2 or 3 times over 16 years.
Do you ever get key money? And by key money, I mean if someone has a unit exclusive or unobtainable, and it's a very good price, and they say to the buyer, listen, this is a very good price, so I'm going to charge you more commission. I'm going to charge you more than the 2 because I've got this below market.
No. We don't get much stuff below market these days. Get a lot of stuff above market, but not much stuff below market.
Okay, we've seen that. We've seen that in Abu Dhabi a couple of times.
I mean, I can understand.
Super hot deal.
But again, okay, so if you're being honest with your seller, right, Mr. Seller, you've given me this. It's below market. I want you to know I've got it. You've given it to me exclusively. I'm on to a winner here. I'm going to charge the buyer 3%. As long as you're honest with the seller, the person that you're representing, I don't see that as being unscrupulous.
You probably misadvised the seller though, or else why would it be so cheap?
Well, I mean, I think if you have to have that conversation to say, look, I'm going to charge this guy 3%, Mr. Seller goes, well, all right, I've either priced this wrong because you think you can get a top up or an extra commission, so let's have another conversation. Or Mr. Seller has gone, I'm really motivated to sell, just get me out of this. Which is probably more likely because, there's not that many poorly educated sellers in Dubai. Everybody seems to be a real estate professional around here.
Maybe they're listening to our podcast and that's why they're so well informed.
Well, that probably would arguably make them dumber.
Do you still get like listings bait and switch where someone's advertising a low listing and then like, oh, that one's gone, but I got
so many. There's a couple of real estate agents on the Palm who work for one company.
Yeah,
that's all they do. That's all they do. They have 70 odd listings on the Palm, and about 85-90% of it is just fake. And how they do it, I don't know, because you have to have all of these. There are processes you have to go through to market with some of these portals where you have to have the title deed, you have to have a signed Form A, you have to have all of these things. Somehow these two
they managed to get it.
Brokers. I really want to say their names. Can I say their first names?
No.
There's no need.
Why?
No.
They're quite popular names. Because then they'll know we know, but nobody else will. I mean, They probably don't even watch this, in fairness. I often have these delusions of grandeur that the whole world watches our podcast. But anyway, they work for a well-known mid-level real estate company, and they have 90% of their listings are fake.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that does happen. I remember looking at Property Finder statistics for one area in Abu Dhabi, and we had, I don't know, like 25 listings there. Maybe we got 60 leads in a month. And another company who was above us had 90 leads in a month and one listing. I'm like...
There you go. It's the value of a good listing,
and
everyone.
I'm going to the Property Finder guy like, what? Like, that's clearly fake. He's like, really? Like, what makes you think that? I'm like... 90 leads off one listing.
And they didn't sell it.
Yeah.
Like, surely 90 leads for one property, you're going to have sold that.
Okay, so the bait
that's
switch is still
that's
extremely popular everywhere.
It's much less popular than it used to be. Wouldn't you agree? You know, we use a platform called Property Finder. Other platforms are available, and they have a system in place where you can't. So a seller in Dubai can list with a Form A with 3 different brokers. If broker number 4 comes along and Mr. Seller's done another Form A with him, they can't post it online because it's 3. So Property Finder are very good at that. That said, Property Finder are also... I don't know what the best way to say it. They're also the platform that these 2 agents on the Palm use. So it's fallible. You know, there's obviously a loop in the... or a chink in the armour somewhere down the line.
True. And then you said on one of the other podcasts also that you've come across a wicked witch called Alphaba who advises their clients to buy something and she can make them 30%
30% in 6 months.
In 6 months.
And she was selling them some high value stuff.
Yeah.
Like, you know, you're talking 50, 60 million dirham apartments and lots, you know, several of them. Several. But I also begin to think to myself, for you to have the kind of money that this guy invested, you have to be pretty clever. And if someone's turning around to you and going, I'll make you 30% in 6 months, you have to have lost some of your brain cells to go, this has got to be kosher. Like, this has to be legit. 30% in 6 months.
Yeah. You got to say they're like a caveat emptor, right? I mean,
Yeah, I mean, you've walked into that with your eyes wide open and, you know, she's pulled your pants down. But also, that is poor advice. But you have to, as an individual, you are, as a buyer, you're as culpable as the person telling you the lies if you're believing them and they are that crazy. You have to think, okay, well, this does seem a bit too good to be true. So, you know, in that respect, 6 one and half a dozen of the other. But if any of your real estate agents are telling you they'll make you 30% in 6 months, just walk away from them. Call a sell. She doesn't lie about that.
Security deposits, when you have an MOU, who do you make them out to in Dubai? Like, who are they? Who's the security deposit made?
The person on the title deed.
Yeah, because still in Abu Dhabi we have a lot of agencies making the security deposit out to the agency.
That's not allowed.
And I'm saying that to buyers and sellers, like, why are you making it out to the agency?
That's not allowed. You're not allowed to do that.
And the agent's argument is, well, this is how we guarantee our commission. We cash it, we put it on our bank, we take our commission, and then we pay the rest of the non-defaulting party.
Well, just don't give them the signed contract until you've got your commission. You shouldn't be receiving money as a third party on behalf of a landlord.
Well, this is so the security deposit is if the deal dies, right? So let's say the buyer backs out, so you've got a security deposit, it's in the name of the company, and they cash it.
Well, I mean, as a landlord or as a tenant.
No, not landlord term. We're talking buying and selling, MOUs.
Okay, but if they so in the contract, so they're taking the 10% deposit, and what are they calling it? 12%. So they take the 10%.
No. So they take 2% and give 8% to the other party.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I was like, they take 8% out of that 2%. Yeah. So, but they're banking the deposit before the contracts are even signed.
No. So let's say you're a buyer, you want to buy a unit, but they're saying you need to write the security deposit, your 10% security deposit, in the name of the broker. So that if the buyer backs out and goes, actually, I don't want to buy it
That's
anymore,
against the law in Dubai.
The broker cashes the check, takes 2%,
That's weird,
and gives 8% to the seller.
I never heard of it.
You're not. So in Dubai, if there is a defaulted contract, the real estate agent holds the deposit on behalf of the buyer to the seller, But if one party backs out and doesn't write a formal email or letter saying you can release my deposit, the real estate agent is not legally allowed to release that deposit at all. It can only come from a court decree. So yeah, it works very differently in Abu Dhabi. You can't just go out and bank that check, because then the real estate agent becomes liable. Because you're basically already arbitraging a contract where you don't really know from a legal perspective who is in default.
Are you arbitraging it?
Yeah, arbitrating it.
Okay.
Don't get smug or smirky with me, dick. You can bleep that out, by you fucking dick.
Semantics. And then we've had an interesting, years and years ago now, you found a piece of land for a client. They then said, had a look at it, and then they said they didn't want it. And then another broker did the deal with that client, who happened to be allegedly related to the CEO.
Yes.
So
that still hurts to this day.
Yeah, that still hurts. I can imagine. But that's a little bit like what we're talking about taking a kickback, whereas the CEO of the company obviously got paid on that deal. What one can assume, even though you'd found the land.
I think the client has to be honest with you also. I had a client like this, and he was like, listen, like, I want to be honest. This is what happened, but I'm going to buy 1 unit from him because he was working so hard. I'm like, fair enough.
Yeah, I mean, I represented a very nice client who this wicked witch got involved in, and we've covered that story. But this client also paid another real estate agent who was helping him find somewhere, but was nothing to do with the transaction. Also gave him money, because he was like, I'm going to pay him because he's worked so hard, and I've worked with him for so long. I feel like I owe him, which I don't know how much he was paid, but I mean, that for me is an amazing thing. I'm not sure I would take it as the agent who had nothing to do with it, but it does happen. I mean, we talk about
we're not talking about nice people here.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's no yin without yang, right? Without good people, there are no bad people. Without bad people, there are no good people.
All the great people in real estate. I think
very short conversation. We could cover that. 3-minute podcast, that one.
There's 3 of us here. And the other day we signed an A2A with another broker, and that broker then went behind our back and contacted the seller.
And what did Mr. Seller do?
Mr. Seller was into it to begin with because he really wanted to sell his unit. So, but then it got I think too shady for him, because we were going to step out and say, listen, if you want to sell it, and we'll just take this other broker to court because we've got everything signed. But it's just a pain taking people to court, and it was.
So what did you say to this broker?
Commission was like 18,000 or something.
What did you say to the broker?
No,
when you caught him?
He blocked us, wouldn't talk to us, So we were just in the process of finding, his boss and that kind of thing, to make sure that they knew what happened. But it was 18,000.
There are companies in Dubai that these 2 people who work on the Palm, they actively encourage their brokers to do the dirty, to try and bring any transaction into in-house. So if you know that there's a transaction going on, and you represent the buyer, please feel free to go knock on the seller's door and try and get the listing after you've done the viewing. They actively, and they're doubling their commission that way. We had a situation with these 2 brokers on the Palm, phoned their boss, and their boss was like, "What do you want me to do about it?" What do you mean, what do we want you to do about it? They're trying to poach our client. Well, what do you want me to do about it? They're actively extolling the virtues of being shady to double your commission.
Yeah. But I mean, there's
Please
a lot
let
of...
me say who they are.
No.
There's even company owners who we know are like good people, and they often say like, well, I mean, I can't control everything that they do. Instead of like,
yeah, you can. That's your job.
I don't agree.
Yeah.
I think it's
job.
It's ethics. He's the one who is building the ethics in the company. So it should be a healthy environment in general. This is how they treat each other. They backstabbing each other in the company. This is not the right environment. I don't know.
They're backstabbing other companies.
No, they're backstabbing each other
amongst
also.
Their own, yeah.
I mean, that's just weird.
I mean, again, companies, I'm thinking of one other company specifically. I know that if you haven't updated your client on the CRM for, I think it's 4 weeks, then that client becomes free, and there are agents inside the company just scouting about for these free leads.
True.
Because you may have spoken to your client, but if you didn't update the CRM, all of a sudden your lead just becomes free. And there's, the bottom feeders in that company scooping up all of these free leads.
Yeah, but I think that's fair enough if the company's paying for the leads. If you're not updating them, you want them like,
To a degree, but I think, there should also be, look, have you spoken to this guy, or have you updated it? Oh, no, I haven't spoken to him. I'm not interested in him anymore, whatever.
It's still horrible and ugly.
Because then you get agents sitting on bunches of leads and, oh, no, I'm definitely going to call them. I think, and 4 weeks seems long to not spoken to a lead.
Never going to work for Crompton.
I would love to do something like that for us, because we're buying leads and like 500 dirhams a pop.
You're buying leads?
Why we're not buying leads?
You can't buy leads for the stuff that we sell.
We can.
I would like to buy Bill Gates' telephone number, please, because obviously we deal with Bill Gates all the time.
By buying leads, I mean advertising on Meta and getting leads.
But we have to do the same.
You have to think of it from a business perspective as buying leads. And that's 500 dirhams just sitting there and the person hasn't called them. You're like, well, that's
charge them 500 dirhams.
Or they've called them and spoken to them once and they haven't followed up. You're like, well, I want someone else to work on that. Or charge them 500 dirhams, I suppose.
Yeah. You can keep him and give me 500 dirhams.
Yeah. I think that would cause some issues.
You want it, you got to deal with it.
Any other shady stuff brokers do in Dubai?
You know more. You know more.
What do I know? Tell me.
About Doji.
Very often I don't know what I know.
About Doji brokers.
Cold calling is almost evaporated, right? After this new the new law where you need to call from...
It's not evaporated, you just get to ignore them a lot more.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, that's...
Well, there is a new law? What is it about?
Well, you can cold call someone, but it's got to be from a registered company number. So when you get a phone call, it'll have the number and it'll have the name of the company that appears underneath it, even if you haven't saved it. So you're allowed to cold call as long as it has your company name.
How you register your phone there?
Yeah, you have to call it from a registered company phone.
Yeah,
from the office?
Yeah. Which is why, I get loads of them and I just ignore them.
Yeah, so that's a positive.
Unless it's Emirates MBD asking me if I want to take a free loan against my credit card. And I'm like,
why not?
I've answered it because you're my bank. And now you're trying to sell me something. I feel like I've been double crossed here.
Other banks do exist.
True. Mate, off the top of my head, no. That's.
You think that? No, come on. There must be worse stuff. Is the real estate market that clean? No.
Yeah. People are recording this. Yes, the real estate market.
No. It's clean because do business with us three because it's scary out there, right?
Yeah. Look, they're it's not unscrupulous. Again, it's just one of these things. So there is a company. If you want to do a viewing with them, you have to give them your client's first name and the last four digits of their telephone
that's
number.
Pretty standard.
No.
Why? They need to check that they don't have the client already.
Well, they may already have the client, but they're not dealing with them because that client wants to see a property that they've got through us. Duh. Like if you were already dealing with them, they wouldn't be like trying to view your property. What that is, oh yeah, God, we have got his number. Let's give him a call. You want to see this house? It's dumb.
Well,
I just don't do it. I refuse. No. I still want to see it.
Yeah, but yeah.
You're looking at this, right? And this is actually quite good because in this podcast we have 2 feet in one side of the argument and another foot in the other side, which is the owner of a company, right? I'm an owner of a company, but I still broker, so I'm coming at this from more a sales point of view. You're coming at it from a business owner's point of view, where I'm paying for these leads and I don't want to, potentially miss out on any lead. It's quite interesting.
Yeah, true. And so you can get a client who, is with you and they're like, okay, I want a 3-bed apartment with sea view, and then some other broker comes in and they want to view a 2-bed townhouse, with garden view, and it's the same client. And they're like, okay, well, we've actually got this client, but they're telling you something different. And I guess clients can do that sometimes. They're like, okay, I'll look at apartments
one of
with
them
this one
hasn't vetted
and
them.
villas with this one, or they're just on Property Finder or Bayut or Dubizzle and just be.
You'll likely find that's the agent
exciting.
Not vetting the client properly.
True. Yeah. Could be a poor qualification, or it could just be the clients shopping around. But lots of developers do that because lots of developers want to make sure that they don't have the client already, because obviously they're doing advertising and make sure the client hasn't already viewed their development, maybe with another broker.
Yeah.
We get that all the time. People come to Mangrove Village with one broker, and then next week they'll come with a different broker to the same project. So you're like, no, we need to know who these people are. to allocate them, or maybe they came direct at one point.
We have to register our clients with the developers by sending the passport. You fill out a form and you send it online, so it's physically registered, and I think that lasts for 3 months or two months, depending on the developer.
But you object to doing that with other brokers?
100%. The only reason that other broker is doing it is because they're a big company and you know their net is spread wide. They may have somehow got this lead which has been burnt in their company, right? But that buyer is working with us. But you then want us to throw up a red flag in your company so that you can go, oh, we've got his contact details. We'll now start talking to him.
Yeah, I mean, it might have been like if it was, you know, a buyer who contacted them the year before or something like that. Exactly. Yeah, that's not cool.
You know, and if you did have this person and you were actively working with them, they wouldn't want to come and see something that you've got as a listing because you would have already shown it to them. Do you feel me? So it's just a lead scooping mechanism. Again, not unscrupulous, but you've got to be a bit of a dumbass if you think you're going to fall for it.
Well, then I guess you just don't get to see the unit.
No, you do get to see the unit through us because we give you a false name and a false telephone number.
There's a way around it.
I didn't do that. Never done that. There's a will, there's a way.
Yeah, I'm sure. But then they're like, hold on, this is our client. We're not going to... Anyway.
So many scenarios that could play out.
So many. Well,
Come on, Estelle. What about you? What about you? Anything unscrupulous you want to talk about? Anything an agent's done to you? No, because you would have buried them in the desert.
That's true.
Well,
like they tried to steal my client a couple of times. It's impossible. How? They're trying to contact him or through other people, and then they were even offering them kickbacks, and they come back to me and telling me, oh, this is what happened. I said, maybe you will give us a discount because the developer is paying you. Why don't you? Because we want to work with you. I was like, listen, guys, this is my bread and butter. I don't work for peanuts. If you think that my work doesn't worth paying me this much, it's better not to work with me.
They're not paying you anything, are they?
Yeah. I mean, so and at the end of the day, it's not you who's paying. And if you want to, I already once faced this. So one client, he was like, like he's giving me a discount, like because of he's giving him a kickback. I told him, listen, if you feel like closing with him, close with him. But later, when you will come back after 6 months, this is what he's offering you, this is what he's promising you, don't come back to me and ask me to sell your property because I'm not going to work on this. You have your client. So it's the same thing. Later on, if someone will offer him more commission than you, he will ditch you and he will work with someone else. This is exactly how you can trust his agent. It's up to you. So after 8 months, I think he got back to me telling me, please, I need your help. Can you help me? I was like, I'm sorry, where is your agent? He was like, well, he couldn't sell it. Wish you luck selling it. I'm not working on it.
All right, guys. Well, listen, I think, again, we're getting the move on signal from Joel over there.
You don't have to, that you're breaking the fourth wall there, Bonnie.
What's the fourth wall?
We don't know who Joel is. We're just three people sitting in our living room having a conversation.
It's Joel. Yeah. We know Joel. Why are you being mean to Joel? Anyway, thank you for joining the two fat brokers in a Kazakh. I've been Barney from Dubai.
Ben from Abu Dhabi.
Estelle from Dubai.
We'll see you again next time.
Thank you.